don't already know, I'm born and raised in Montana, and the one thing that we had a lot of all year round is snow. Where I live in the mountains, and the snow never completely melts. So one of our favorite sports we do in the winter is snowboarding, and when I was a little kid, I actually hated snow. I grew up hating every little inch of snow that was on the ground. All I wanted was sun and heat, and I just wanted to go out and swim and everything like that. And the snow prevented me from doing all of that. I would sit in my house with the wood stove burning all day long, wrapped up in blankets, because I hated being cold. And so my entire family would go up skiing on the mountain, and I would sit in the lodge and paint or scrapbook or do whatever I could to keep the 6 hours that they were skiing. Like, I would keep myself entertained. And so when I was about a 6th grader, my dad finally told me, you need to try it. You need to get up there, you need to try something. And I told him I wanted to try snowboarding. And he told me, no, you can't handle it. You're a girl, you're just gonna be awful at it. I found out later the reason he told me that was because he wanted me to get up there, and he knew if he told me I couldn't do something, I'd do it. But what happened is I had the worst experience of my life. There are 3 things that you should never do when you're first learning how to snowboard. The first one is, do not let a friend or a family member or something like that that likes to mess with you take you snowboarding. Worst idea. I'll tell you that story in a minute. Number 2, do not let a skier teach you how to snowboard. And number 3, do not get stuck in trees. So first off, when you have family members or friends that like to mess with you, what I learned is I grew up on a mountain that was 90% black diamond. And for those of you that don't know what that means a mountain like this. So my brothers took me up to the top of the mountain and decided to leave me there. And it took me 3 hours to get down. And it consisted of me doing cartwheels and back bends and whatever I could to get that snowboard down off the hill, because I was in 6 inches of powder. And if you're learning, that's not a very good idea. The second thing you should never, ever do is have a skier teach you how to snowboard. It's one thing if they know how to snowboard, and they usually ski and they're teaching you while they're snowboarding, but to have a skier teach you how to snowboard, the one phrase I heard the entire time was, use your poles, use your poles. Snowboarders don't have poles. And so I would literally sit down and be like, am I missing part of my equipment? Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. This is ridiculous. And so that was the worst part of it all, because I just got mad and frustrated. And then you'd be like, do the pizza, which is where you take your skis and point them together. And I was like, my feet are on one board. How can I do that? My feet don't move. So that's one thing you never want to do. And the third thing you never want to do is get stuck in a tree. Now, people go skiing through trees and run into trees, that's one thing. But what I learned was the trail that I was learning on was actually meant for, in the summertime, Jeeps will drive up there and whatnot, so it's called the Jeep Road. And there's this area where like it plateaus out and you essentially can snowboard off of it. Well, right about at this level, there's a tree that just kind of goes down because it slopes off. And so I decided, oh, I'm gonna try tree skiing. Like, I've done like 2 or 3 runs, like I should try this, I should see what I think about powder. And I went off the side of the bank and ended up upside down in a tree. So my idea was, okay, I'm gonna unsnap my snowboard. That sounds like a perfectly rational idea, right? Well, I unsnap it and didn't realize I was hanging upside down, and gravity worked and I fell down and was stuck in a snowbank. So then I had to spend the next 25 minutes hiking out of the snowbank, and then realized my snowboard was still in the tree. So then I had to hike back down, figure out how to get the snowboard out of the tree, and then hike back up. So basically, moral of the story is, I encourage you all to get out and try winter sports. I know it might not be something that's readily available here. You have Mount Hood, but that's quite a ways away. But I encourage you all to do it. Just remember to keep these 3 topics in your brain when you go, because the worst thing you can ever have is a bad first experience. A bad first experience can ruin your entire love of the sport. And personally, it's something I have grown to love, and I go usually 30 times in the winter if I'm at home the whole time. So, thank you.